Okay, so this is Test J, Game 4. Test J, by the way, is called Test J because LSAT did not give it a number. It was released without a number convention. It came between tests 52 and 51. In any case, I'm sure none of you care about that, but there are exactly 3 recycling centers in Riverton. All right, we have Center 1, Center 2, and Center 3. That's pretty clear to me, makes sense. We got 3 places where we recycle. Exactly 5 kinds of material are recycled at these recycling centers. Glass, newsprint, plastic, tin, and wood. So in my mind, GNPTW. Notice this is key. It says exactly 5 kinds of material are recycled. So if exactly 5 kinds of material are recycled, these are the 5 kinds that are recycled, and none of them can be left out, right? In some games, they give you the kinds of things that could be recycled, but they don't necessarily say that they have to be recycled. So you know that, yeah, some of them will be recycled, but you don't necessarily know that all of them will be. In this game, we know that all 5 things are going to appear. Cool? Somewhere. They don't have to appear in each center, they just have to appear between the 3 centers. Each recycling center recycles at least 2, but no more than 3 of these kinds of material. Okay? So at a minimum, you have 2 in each center, which means how many things at a minimum are getting recycled? Well, at a minimum, we have 6. Are you guys cool with that? So at least one of these materials has to be recycled at 2 places. Right? Because we have 2, 2, 2, that's 6, but we have 5 things, so one of them is going to go twice. Okay, any recycling center that recycles wood also recycles newsprint. What that's saying is that if Center 1 has wood, it also has to have newsprint. If Center 3 has newsprint, does it have to have wood? No, not necessarily. It certainly could, and it might, but it doesn't have to, right? This is saying if you're going to recycle wood, you better recycle newsprint. But if you're recycling newsprint, it doesn't say anything about whether or not you have to recycle wood. Okay? Kenzo, you have a question?
Yes. Does this first condition mean, no, sorry, the second condition, any material that is in center 1 must also be in center 2, or that's only any material in center 2 must be in center 1?
Yeah, so technically the rule is just saying, hey, look, if you're in center 2, then you have to be in center 1. It's not saying that if you're in center 1 that you have to be in center 2. But given the fact that we have a limited number of slots, right? It's going to be the case that in some situations, if you're in 1, you have to go in 2 as well because there's no other way to get things into 2.
Okay.
But the rule itself, by itself, is just saying, hey, if you're in 2, then you're in 1, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so that was rule 2. Rule 3, only one of the recycling centers recycles plastic. Okay, P is showing up only once, and that recycling center does not recycle glass. Okay, so I actually want to focus in on this rule because it's pretty constrictive, right? Only one place recycles plastic. If only one place recycles plastic, what do you know about plastic? Anything? Okay, yeah, 1 or 3. In other words, it can't go in 2, right? Because if it goes in 2, then it has to go in 1. So now it's going in 2 places. So that's not going to work. So it's either got to be in 3 or even it could be in 1 as long as it's not in 2. And so I would, like right there, I'm inclined to create 2 worlds, one in which P is in 3 and one in which P is in 1. You guys cool with that? Floricia, am I saying your name right? Still?
Think the number 4
Yeah.
and then for Alicia.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so I want to, if we can, go back to Kenz's question for a second,
Yeah.
and then rules 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So I understand we're looking for at least rule 1,
Yeah.
sufficient versus necessary.
Okay.
So I get that, any center with wood must also have newsprint, but not the reverse.
Mhm.
Got it. However, with rule 2, that's not necessarily the case. If I understand your answer to her, that whatever happens in center 1 doesn't necessarily have to happen in center 2, or is it because of how the worlds are set up, it's sort of constrained in such a way that might happen?
Yeah, it's so in isolation, the rule says nothing about what happens when something is in 1. So when something is in 1, we don't know whether it's going to be in 2 or not. We do know that if it's in 2, it definitely has to be in 1. But if it's in 1, it doesn't necessarily have to be in 2. I was just saying that given the fact that we have a limited number of slots in this game, and I think this will be easier to see when we're actually looking at an example, but that's going to force some things that are in 1 to end up being in 2.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Natasha.
I have a question regarding rule number 2.
Yep.
So wait, was it number 2? No, I'm sorry, rule number 3. It says that only one of the recycling centers can have plastic.
Yep.
So without taking into account the other rules, just looking at rule 3 and understanding what that means, would it be safer to say, okay, that just means that it can't go in 2, because if you go in 2, you have to go in 1? Is it safer to just assume, well, not assume, but say, okay, P cannot go in 2 rather than P can go in 1 and 3, given the fact that we're just focusing on that rule? Because then it's like pushing beyond what we know based off of that rule itself.
Well, okay, so yes and no. So when it says only one of the places can recycle plastic, right? The immediate inference is, okay, well, I better not put it in 2. Because if I put it in 2, then it's going in 2 places, so that doesn't work. So then the question is, well, where does it go? So I would then say, can it go in 1 and can it go in 3? We don't know for sure, but it's fine to go ahead and create 2 worlds, one in which P is in 1 and one where P is in 3, if you don't see any problems right away. Because all this rule has told us is that P can't be in 2. So I'm like, well, maybe P can be in 1 or 3. I create those 2 worlds. If it turns out that P can't go in one of those groups or centers, right, then we'll eventually realize that as we start to add in more rules, and then we'll just kill that world.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to create 2 worlds now. I'm going to have 2 diagrams. Each world will have 3 centers. And I'm going to put P in 1 and I'm going to put P in 3. Okay? So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Well, let's do it like this. Okay. So this is my first world. I have 3 centers and I have 2 slots in each center. In some centers, I could have up to 3 things, right? I used dotted lines to signal to myself that these things are optional. I don't have to have them, but I could. Okay? Eric, you cool with that? Sweet. All right. So let's keep going. So the next world is going to look the same. Okay, so P is in 3. That's one option. P is in 1. Now I could put P in 1 here, but if P is in 1, it has to be the thing that is not in 2, right? So I'm actually going to put it down here I'm just going to fill this in. I'm going to put it down here because whatever goes here is going to have to show up here. Right? So I just want to leave room for that. And I know it's not going to be P because P is not going to be in 2. Any questions? Okay. Now, this rule continues, right? It says, oh, by the way, that recycling center does not recycle glass. So I could just say, okay, well, G doesn't go here. G doesn't go here. I tend to, negative inferences happen all the time. We know that G can't go here. We know that G can't go here. I almost always, though, just immediately ask myself, okay, well, what does that mean? Where is G going to go? So I don't even really take the time to write this down. If G is not in 3, then it has to be in 1 or 2. Eric, you have a question about these rules or these worlds?
I just want to comment that if P is in that 3rd spot in number 1, then the center 2 can only have 2 materials.
Oh, absolutely.
That 3rd spot.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because if anything came here, it would have to kick out P, right? So you're right. So we could do a couple things here. I think the easiest thing is just to cross it out, but you could also get rid of that, right? You can't put anything into that 3rd slot. Okay, cool. Back to G. We know that G can't be in 1. So is G going to be in 2? Nope. Because if it goes in 2, then it's going to be in 1, and that's a problem. So in this world, we know that G has to be in 3. So far, so good? Okay. Let's go to this diagram. G can't be here. So it could be in 2 or 1. If it's in 2, what do we know? It's going to be in 1, right? And if it's in 1, well, I don't know whether it's in 2 or not, but there are really only 2 possibilities. Either it's in 2 and therefore also in 1, which means it's in both, or it's only in 1, it's only in center 1, and that's it, right? So I'm going to create a second diagram here. Okay, so I took this world and I split it into 2 worlds, and either G is here and here, or G is just here. Sound good? Okay, and if G is just here, as Eric said, nothing can come here. And so we're going to have 2 other things going here. All right, so what I've done with this last rule by creating these worlds is I've gotten rid of it, right? There is no other way that G and P can be arranged. These are the only 3 ways. Okay, so the last rule, you can forget about it. You never have to think about it again. We have 2 more rules. We have if W is recycled, then N is recycled, and we have, of course, if 2, then 1. Let's talk about the WN rule. Actually, hold on. Who else is left? So we have glass, newsprint, plastic, tin. Okay, so tin, we have to deal with tin, we have to deal with wood, and we have to deal with newsprint, right? These are the 3 variables that are left. If we have W, then we know we have to have N as well, okay? I want to actually talk about this world first. If I have W here, I mean, there's a few options, but I could put, let's start here. If W goes here, then N would have to go with it. You guys cool with that? If W comes in 2, then N would have to go here. And if W comes in 1, then N would have to come here. If I put W in 1, what do I know about 2? It's going to have W as well, right? Because there's only 2 slots left here, and there are 2 slots here. So if I fill these up with W and N, these are going to have to become W and N. Okay. My point is that I really only have 2 options. Either W goes here, and then I have N here, or W comes up here, and really both places, and then N comes down there. There's only 2 options for N. Because I can't put W, N in all 3 of them, because if I put it in all 3, then there would be no room for T. You guys cool with that? So I could actually, just for simplicity, I'm going to split this world again, and I'm going to say, okay, we have G, we have P, and either W comes here, which means N comes here, W comes here, N comes here, or W comes here and N comes here. Now, I know that's the case because everything has to be used and W has to go somewhere, right? Okay, in this world, I still haven't used T, so T has to go here. Are you cool with that? Okay. This slot is still available. I know P can't go there. I know G and T can't go there because they're already gone. W could not go here, right? Because if W went there, N would have to go there. There's no room. So the only thing that could come here is N. I'm going to put it in parentheses because I'm not saying that it has to go there. I'm just saying if it is going to go there, it's going to be N. Okay, down here, what do I still need to use? I need something. I need T. So T, no matter where it goes, it's going to go in both places. So T, T. What's left for here? There's only one more thing that could go here, and that is N. Because I can't put another T, I can't put W, there's not enough room, and G and P are taken care of. So this is N, N. All right, these 2 worlds are complete. Over here, I can still do the W thing, right? Like for example, can I put W in all 3 of these spots? No. So it's going to be the same sort of thing. I either have to put W here, and then I'm going to have N here, or I'm going to put W here, and then I'm going to have N here, W, N. To save time, I feel like the only other option here is T. So we're going back and forth with W and T. So I'm going to say W, T, and this is going back and forth like this. Because if W goes here, I'm going to have WN, WN, and then T is going to have to go there. If W comes here, then I'm going to have to put T over here, and we're going to have T and maybe N, maybe not. Questions about that? Same thing here. I have to put W here, here, or here. If it goes here, we're going to have both. I think we're going to end up with the same scenario. I'm just going to draw it really quick to see. Either W goes here or W goes here. If W goes here, we have N. If W goes here, we have N. And then T would have to come up here, T, N, N. Here, T would go here. This is X. And then I don't know whether anything goes there, but if it is, it's going to be N. So really, these diagrams are kind of doing the same thing. This is the only one that I didn't finish, but I'm getting the sense of this game, so I'm just going to go into the questions. Francesca, question.
Hi, yeah, my question is from a little bit ago. When you first made the world that's above that horizontal line with G on the bottom left, yes. Why did you put G on the dotted line? Like, is it not definitely there? Or am I misunderstanding the dotted line?
Oh, I took... oh, Sorry. So dotted line means to me you could put something here. In this particular world, what the heck was I doing? Why did I split that? Shit, now I can't even remember what I was doing.
I think that you made that one as a split from the world above it, but then you put P in the top right and G in the bottom left. And
Oh,
I
that's
assumed
your
you'd make
question.
E
Okay.
there.
I am moving too quickly and talking to myself. This is, well, okay. So if I took this and why did I do that? Wow, I'm really like talking to you and not thinking about why I'm doing what I'm doing. Anyways, I don't remember why I did this, but if I took this world and I was going to split it, then it would be PGG. What was I thinking?
Can I interrupt?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we did the fact that if it's in 2, it's in 1. We did the 2 and 1, and then in 1 only.
Yeah, so
That's-
this was world 1, this was 2, right? And then this was 2, like A, and this was 2B. We split, these were the original 3 worlds. Does that make sense, Francesca?
Right, yes.
So then I took this and I split it again. You're wondering why I put this G down here when I created these 2 worlds?
Yeah.
Oh, I did that because when P is in third, sorry, I totally forgot what I did. When P is in third, right, there are 2 options. Either G goes in 2 and then G also goes in 1, or G just goes in 1.
Okay.
Like if G goes in 2, then it also has to go in 1. But if G goes in 1, it doesn't necessarily have to go in 2. But the only way for it to not also go in 2 is it's going to have to come down here and be the one that doesn't repeat.
Okay. That makes sense.
Cool. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have these 3 original, we had these 2 worlds. I split this, and then I took this world and I split it, and I took this world and I split it. Okay,
Great.
cool.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Next question.
Hi, Ben.
Hey.
I had a moment where I had to double back in the paragraph where they were laying out the rules and to check if we had to use all the variables, because I think in one of my worlds, like in your world 2A there,
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure we had to use all the variables, but I didn't really see that language there. Or is there a way that you can indicate to me like what language
No problem.
specifically states that we had to use all the variables?
It's the second sentence. Exactly 5 kinds of material are recycled at these centers. So we have to do all 5.
So when it says exactly all 5,
Well,
it just that's kind of just implied within that.
Well, it says exactly 5, and then it gives us 5 things. So those are the 5 things that have to be recycled. Yeah.
Is there wording that would indicate like otherwise, like so the opposite of that, where it's like optional?
Yeah. So when it's optional, it's the absence of this wording. So that's the kind of language that people tend to miss the most. It might say something like there are 5 kinds of materials that could be recycled at these centers. And you're like, okay, well these are the 5. Do I have to recycle all 5 of them? No, not necessarily.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Next question. Scott.
Yeah, Ben, when you split the second world, you know, when you have the TTG, can the first center be W? No, the first world. But you split it, the TTG?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. So again, can center 1 be WNP without the T?
Oh, WNP.
Because it's not sufficient and necessary, because N could be solely in center 2, where it could be a W or a T, correct?
Well, that's where we get this world, because whatever you have here has to go here, right?
Right. So, but again, right. So it's not necessary. So I can have whatever I have in center 1 does not necessarily have to be in 2. So could the T be really a split to a WT?
You
Because
mean
I'm still
this one right here?
Yes, correct.
No, because if you put W here, right? Let's just
Correct.
say it's W.
Okay.
Well, there's no room for it, right? Because
No, get rid of the N. I don't need to have the T. Oh, you're saying because whatever's in 2 has to be in 1. Okay, correct.
yeah. So it's weird.
Okay.
The rule is only telling me if this is here, then it's got to be here. But because I have a limited number of spots,
Right, okay. I was just making sure because I was implying the conditional statement instead of using the mirror of rule 2. Okay.
got
cool.
it. Yeah, it's really.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. It's really just a limited number of spots. Okay, cool. Let's go to question 18. Let's see if we can answer these in 2 minutes. Question 18, which one of the following could be an accurate account of all the kinds of material recycled at each center in Riverton? Okay, so here I'm just, again, doing process of elimination. I'm going to start with if W then N. So if W then N, that's fine for A. Ooh, no, it's not fine for A, because in center 3, I have W, but I don't have N. So A is out. WN is good in B. WN is good in C. WN is good in D. I'm just looking for W and seeing if it has N. WN is good in E. Okay, so I only was able to get rid of answer choice A. For rule 2, if it's in 2, then it's got to be in 1. So for B, I have GNT in 2, and I have GNT in 1. For answer choice C, I have GNT, GNW. That's not good. So answer choice C is out because what's in 2 is not in 1. Answer choice D is okay because I have GT and then I have GT. E, I have NPW and I have NPW, so that's fine. Okay, last rule. Only one center recycles plastic. That is fine in B, that's fine in D, and that's not good in E, because E, I have 2 plastics. And then finally, glass and plastic can't go together. That's a problem in D, which leaves the answer as B. Okay, so that's just process of elimination. Are we okay with that? Let's keep going. Question 19. Which one following is a complete and accurate list? Oh, you know, I just gave you this lecture about doing the if questions first and failed to do it. So I'm going to skip to 20. Question 20. If center 2 recycles 3 kinds of material, then which one of the following kinds of materials must center 3 recycle? Okay, if 2 recycles 3 kinds, so I'm not in this world, I'm not in this world, not in this world, not in this world. This is the only world in which 2 could do 3 kinds, right? And if it does 3 kinds, then we're going to have 3 kinds in 1 as well. And what has to be in center 3? Well, center 3 has to have P. So that's the answer. Let's go to question 21. If each recycling center in Riverton recycles exactly 3 kinds of material, then which one of the following could be true? Okay, so again, we're in this world. Only center 2 recycles glass. No, center 1 could as well, and in fact does. Only center 3 recycles newsprint. No, actually newsprint could be in all 3. In fact, it has to be in all 3. Right? That's really the issue. Because if I have WN, WN, I would have T and I would have to have N, so it's going to be in all 3. C, only center 1 recycles plastic. No, it can't happen. It's in center 3. Only center 3 recycles tin. Could that be true? I could have tin, TN, WN, WN. So that could be true. D could be true. E, only center 1 recycles wood. No. Because we have 3 and 3, these things have to be mirror images of each other, which means center 2 is going to recycle wood as well if center 1 is. So E cannot be true. The only answer here that could be true is D. Questions about that one? Okay. I'm going to go to the next if question, which happens to be question 22. 22. If center 3 recycles glass, okay, we're not looking at this world, we're looking at this world and this world. We're looking at these 2 worlds. Which one of the following kinds of materials must center 2 recycle? Okay, well, N. That's what's true in both. So the answer is B. Okay. Last question. It's also an if question. Okay, if center 1 is the only recycling center that recycles wood, the only one that recycles wood, not here, not here, not here, not here. Okay, I'm back to this world. If it's the only one that recycles wood, then I know I'm looking at this situation, right? That's the thing that has to be wood so that it doesn't repeat over here. Are you guys cool with that? So then what's going to happen? That makes this newsprint, right? So wood and then newsprint. That means this has to be newsprint. I need T somewhere, which we kind of already knew. So T has to go here. That's all I know. Okay. Which one of the following could be a complete and accurate list of the kinds of material that one of the recycling center recycles? Could we have plastic and tin? Yes, we could. Okay, let's just look at the rest really quick. NW, no, because that's not a complete list. It would have to be NWG. NT, again, if N came here, that would not be a complete list. GW, not a complete list. GT, never going to happen. So the only answer here is A. I'm going to go to the one question we skipped, which was question 19. Which one of the following is a complete and accurate list of the recycling centers in Riverton, any one of which that could recycle plastic? We already figured that out. Plastic has to be 1 or 3, so that's going to be answer choice D. Questions on this game? I'm sorry we went over. Thanks for hanging out anyway. Happy to go over anything that's still confusing. All right. Well, questions about games in general? Tianya.
So I am retaking on Wednesday. I had
Yeah.
a really odd experience when I sat for my exam last Saturday.
Yeah.
My proctor kept flagging me for looking down and taking notes while I was doing my games.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you've heard that experience, because I found that my iPad is definitely wider range, so I'll try to use that, but it was just such an odd experience, and I'm like trying to do this, we'll look up at her, so just curious if you've heard that or other ways people have worked that out.
Wow. That's interesting. So you were just doing your diagrams on paper, and they were saying, hey, you can't do that.
She was just sort of like, oh, I can't see you. Oh, I can't see you. And I was like, well, I'm allowed to use scratch paper. So it was sort of this thing. So I got to retest. I'll definitely go ask it about the proctor beforehand this time. But
Yeah.
it was just such an odd experience. I didn't know how to sort of do both. And it was the only section where I took sort of notes or did that. So
Yeah, that's a bummer. I mean, I'm sure that's happened before. Has that happened to anyone? It technically shouldn't, but
Yeah, they've told me before in an exam that they can't see me while I was taking notes. I don't know if I was, like, my face was outside the camera a bit. Maybe that's why, but not completely sure. The same situation.
yeah. Well, yeah, maybe you have to, maybe adjusting your camera would help, but definitely talk to the proctor beforehand. You could even explain, like, we're allowed to take notes. I had this problem last time. What can we do to avoid that issue? And maybe that would be enough to preemptively stop the proctor from constantly, interrupting you, because they could go back and check the rules. Cool.
Thank you.
Yep.